Hello, me lords and ladies, and welcome to some City of Ash terrain painting. We're painting this little wooden thing here. I don't know what it is. Barricade? The dead guy in the back. Anyways, first off, I want to say thank you to all my YouTube members. You guys are absolutely amazing. You will get early access to this Sunday evening whenever it takes YouTube to upload it. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, hit the bell so you get alerted whenever we get new videos out. Try and produce 3 videos a week, hopefully more in the future. But without further ado, let's go. All right, obviously the first thing you're going to do is, I don't really need to build the miniature, but you do need to snip it out of the sprues, clean up all the nasty mold lines, and then I spray paint it in black and then white from above. There's a little bit of black undertone, nothing crazy. This is how we do our contrast painting to speed up a lot of the process. So for all of the wood, we are doing some Wyldwood. Now I did thin this a little bit with some Lamia medium because Wyldwood is a very thick paint. So we wanted some of that translucency through that white. For all the rope areas on that left side, we're going to be doing some Basilicanum Grey. Obviously, you see that I'm using a bigger size brush here to speed this process up. There is a decent chunk of terrain in this box that we need to get through, and I would like to all do it at once, one sitting, but I can't. Don't have the time, but yeah, whatever. Next, we're going to be doing some skeleton horde. If you notice at the top, I also missed a piece of that wood. That's why I use a wet palette for even most of my, especially if I'm putting Lamia medium in my contrast paints. So I could always go back and just touch up what I missed. So we're going to be doing some skeleton horde on, obviously, the skeleton. Don't forget that little femur bone that is kind of blended into the base of this miniature. And we are also using this on the tops of the wood pikes coming out to get that wood like look, obviously. For the base itself, we're going to be using some straight black Templar. Now, if you really wanted to thin this down, you can add some contrast medium or Lamia medium, and that white will really stick through. But black Templar is an opaque black in and of itself, so you don't really need to. It gives you that natural highlight where you don't even need to highlight it, and I didn't end up doing any dry brushing or highlighting on any of those rock areas. I just kept it as is because that white stuck through very nicely. Now for probably the worst part of painting this miniature is going to be the Sigmar flag that is right here. So for the innards, the top and the bottom on the inside, we're going to be using some Kokaero Orange. Now, the white's probably going to stick through, so I end up having to do 2 coats of this, let it dry completely, and then put a second coat on, and it turned out just fine and smooth. I'm not using contrast paints for the inside of this because I want it to look very smooth. Contrast paints has a problem, especially on smooth surfaces, pooling up, so I think it's better if you just do regular paints on this. For the interior, we're going to be using some Ushabti Bone. Now it is very, very opaque and translucent, so we had to do about 3 coats of this. Obviously, I want to make it look smooth because it is a flag on a smooth surface, so I had to work on this one. And then probably the absolute worst part of painting this terrain is going to be the exterior of that flag. We're using Thondia Brown for 2 reasons. Obviously, you got to be careful going on the interior and exterior of those lines. And you also need to be cognizant of the white sticking through. So it did take me a couple coats, I think about 2 to 3 coats for this. And then for our last base paint, we're going to do all the little rivets in Iron Warriors. And then we're just going to move on to our wash step. We only have 1. All right, I decided to kind of give some of this skeleton a little bit more depth. The skeleton horde, it's a great contrast paint, but it just kind of lacks a little bit of oomph, if you know what I mean. So I kind of got a little bit more into it. All right, once you are dry, shouldn't take that long. We're going to be doing a couple things with this Ushabti Bone. The first is going to be the edges and a little bit on the lower region of those spikes sticking up onto the wood beams. Just kind of pulling through, makes it stand out a little bit more. And still got some of that contrast paint in there, so it doesn't look perfect. It looks like wood's supposed to be kind of a little discolored here and there, especially if it's been in an area with rain and everything else for a while. The next thing I'm going to use this Ushabti Bone is highlighting up our little skelly person that's missing half the top of its skull. I don't know if he got chopped in the head with an axe or an arrow or something, but he's definitely missing a good chunk of his skull. So we're just going to go through and brighten up all of those areas. And then when you're satisfied with the Ushabti Bone, as you'll see here in a second, we are going to use Screaming Skull to brighten up our skelly just a little bit more. So again, we're focusing on the skull, the nose around the orbital area, the teeth, and then all of the individual ribs, the sternum, and then the hands and legs itself. And you can notice that I did mess up in that femur as well. It was kind of hard to see in the terrain itself. I got painted over that as well. All right, only a couple more highlights to do. And for the ropes around the area, I just went through each individual rope. And I spruced each one up with a little bit of Dawnstone just to give it some depth. Try your hardest not to get into the recesses like I had just did. And just go over each individual rope. This is really an optional step. If you don't want to do it, you don't necessarily need to. I just wanted to add some depth to the flag itself. So I just did some edge highlighting with some Skrag Brown around all the areas that I was comfortable in getting. If you're not comfortable in doing this, I mean, it is a good thing to practice. It is a flag. It's nothing crazy. But this does take some time, obviously. And then I went through also with some Kokaero Orange, cleaned up any areas that I saw was too much Thondia Brown. And then our final little highlight is going to be the rivets, and we're just going to do some Leadbelcher on top of those. And your terrain piece is done, except for obviously the transfer sticker. Now, I didn't show putting the transfer sticker on because I lose my mind about 9 times out of 10 putting transfer stickers on because it is an absolute pain. Why can't they just do stickers? I don't know. So obviously, I went with the box art with the Sigmar emblem, the 3 diamonds on it, but you can do whichever one you want. Obviously, if you have different armies, it is up to you. That's it. That's all she wrote. Pretty simple for that terrain. There's several other terrain pieces in there. Obviously, the 2 big ones that we're going to be working on here shortly. All of the rats, and then the Cities of Sigmar guys as well. We're working on some of those hopefully today. And then we're going to have some out for next week, first week of August. We also have Chris Sobel's pick of the month, beginning of August, where we're going to be doing another Aeon Trespass Odyssey miniature. So stay tuned for that. We got a ton of Warhammer. Still finishing up Chronicles of Dronagar. We're never going to finish. But yeah, so stay tuned. But I love you all. I'll see you on the next one. All right, paint on.